Have you ever imagined living above the clouds? Not as a metaphor, but literally, in a floating city, where the sky is the ground and the world below is nothing more than a toxic memory. Now imagine discovering that while some live surrounded by luxury and pure air, billions struggle for oxygen among the ruins of Earth. Is that the price of progress, or the inevitable result of a humanity that learned how to rise, but forgot how to look down? In the year 2200, the cities left the ground. Lifted by colossal anti-gravity systems and clean energy, they hover over the planet like islands of light in an ocean of darkness. Down below, what's left of civilization blends with dust and radiation. The soil is toxic, the seas are dead, and the air is an invisible poison. But above the clouds, the sky is perfect. Crystal clear air, hanging gardens, golden skyscrapers reflecting sunlight, a paradise reserved for a few. And as the world divides between those who ascended and those left behind, a question echoes among the clouds. Has humanity truly evolved, or merely found a new way to run away? Get ready to witness the future of cities, a future where the sky is the limit and inequality has reached infinity. Welcome to the era of the floating cities. It all began at the end of the 21st century. The planet could no longer bear the weight of the civilization that shaped it. Decades of reckless exploitation, wars over resources, and climate catastrophes had turned Earth's surface into a field of ruins. The oceans rose, the forests vanished, and the air became unbreathable. Coastal cities were swallowed, and fertile soil turned to dust. That was when Project Helios was born, an ambitious plan created by the richest nations with the promise of preserving civilization far from Earth itself. The idea was simple and cruel. If the planet could no longer sustain humanity, humanity would rise away from it. The first floating structures were scientific prototypes powered by quantum anti-gravity systems and orbital solar reactors. But soon, what began as research became privilege. The global elite financed the construction of sky cities, suspended metropolises above the clouds, where the sky was blue again and the air pure once more. Meanwhile, down below, the Terrans, as those who remained on the surface came to be called, survived amid acid storms and ecological collapse. The world was literally divided between the high and the low, between privilege and oblivion. Humanity, for the first time, split into two worlds. And the irony is that to escape our own destruction, we didn't go to the stars, we only climbed high enough to forget what we let fall. The year is 2200. Above the clouds, luminous colossi rise, defying gravity and the very logic of nature. These are the floating cities, vast metropolises suspended by anti-gravity rings, powered by pure solar energy drawn directly from the stratosphere. From below, they look like fixed stars in the sky. Up close, they reveal a spectacle of living architecture and sublime technology. The towers stretch in elegant curves, made of translucent alloys that change color with the solar cycle. Streets float like moving platforms, connected by bridges of light. The clouds serve as white seas, where aerial ships glide in absolute silence. And on the horizon, the sun rises twice, once in the sky, and once reflected on the mirrored layers of the suspended structures. Inside the floating cities, everything is controlled, the temperature never changes. Rain falls on scheduled hours, only to refresh the air. Even sunset is calibrated to last exactly as long as the human mind perceives as perfect. But this harmony comes at a price. Below the clouds, the real world continues to rot. While the rich live surrounded by brilliance and artificial purity, those who stayed behind breathe ashes and exist beneath the eternal toxic twilight of a lost Earth. And a question echoes between the golden towers and the thin air of the sky. How long can a civilization stay above before the weight of its own conscience drags it down? At the heart of the floating cities lies the secret that keeps humanity suspended between heaven and the abyss: zero-point energy, a form of anti-gravitational propulsion that manipulates Earth's quantum field. Each city has an atmospheric core, a living reactor that converts energy particles into magnetic lift. It's what keeps kilometers of structure floating silently in the air. No emissions, no crashes, no failures, until now. These metropolises are true technological organisms. The buildings breathe. The air is filtered through bioengineered systems that remove toxins and release pure oxygen. Water is created by cloud condensation and distributed through living bioluminescent conduits. Nothing is wasted. Every molecule is recycled, every atom repurposed. But there's something few people know. The energy keeping the cities afloat is becoming unstable. In recent years, subtle malfunctions have started to appear. Gravity fluctuations, temporary power drops, and rumors of an electric storm forming below the lower atmospheric layers. Engineers call it field saturation syndrome, a phenomenon that, if left unchecked, could bring everything above the clouds crashing down. Meanwhile, on the surface, some celebrate the possibility. Groups calling themselves the Earthborn Descendants believe that the fall of the floating cities would restore natural balance. After all, can a civilization float forever when it was built on the weight of billions left behind? Life in the floating cities is the reflection of an artificial paradise, beautiful, safe, and completely controlled. Inhabitants live in suspended glass towers of liquid architecture, where climate, light, and even collective mood are regulated by autonomous systems. Mornings are always perfect, the sky always blue. But behind that calculated harmony hides an invisible surveillance system where every breath is measured and every emotion monitored. Homes are intelligent organisms capable of adapting to their residents' emotional state. Walls change color according to heartbeat. The air perfumes itself based on dopamine levels. And holograms replace windows, projecting an ideal horizon even when outside is nothing but mist and silence. Children study in virtual schools with synthetic teachers and cognitive efficiency-based curricula. There is no room for error. Failure is seen as a programming defect. Leisure is engineered. Perfect sensory experiences simulated by neurostimulators that make the brain believe it's living intensely, even when the body remains still. And yet, something feels missing. Amid the automated smiles and flawless hanging gardens, there's a quiet emptiness. A growing group of young people, the so-called Terrans, have begun questioning the purpose of living above the clouds without ever touching the ground. They dream of descending, of feeling real rain, real soil, real gravity. They dream of living for real, but dreaming in the floating cities is a dangerous act. Because where everything is perfect, the desire for imperfection is seen as a threat. While the floating cities thrive in the sky, beneath them the earth agonizes in silence. The oceans, once blue, have turned into mirrors of liquid metal. The ground, a cracked and lifeless mosaic. The few humans who remained on the surface, known as the Remnants, live among ruins, surviving on recycled technology and old dreams. They look up and see the city shining like artificial constellations. For them, the sky is now a reminder of absolute inequality. Those above live in controlled abundance, while those below endure the collapse of what's left of nature. But a silent movement is rising. Some of those born in the heights have begun to descend. They want to understand what was forgotten, to touch the earth, to feel the cold, the wind, the fear. And in doing so, they realize that humanity wasn't lost in destruction, but in comfort. Homo novus, the species that once believed it had surpassed the old human, begins to question its own existence. What is the point of digital immortality if it erases the beauty of failure? What is the use of control if it extinguishes emotion? What good is eternal survival if there's nothing left to live for? The narrative ends with a symbolic image. A man steps onto the ground for the first time in centuries. Dust rises slowly, as if the earth were breathing again. On the horizon, the cities still shine in the distance, and the final phrase echoes, perhaps evolution was never about escaping humanity.